Hello, my name's Rev Nicki and welcome to our story time today. Let's begin by saying a prayer. And if you would like to make this prayer your own, then you can say Amen at the end of the prayer. Amen means let it be. So it's a little bit like saying, I agree and I would like this prayer to happen. Let's just take a moment of quiet. Loving God, the Bible tells us that you know us and love us, and you long for us to know you and love you too. Help us today as we listen to another story from the Bible. Help us to find out more about you and what it means to follow you. Amen. Before I tell you a story this morning, I thought it might be good to play a game. Now, in this bag, I've got a couple of things that you would find in your home. I'm going to describe them to you and we'll see if you can guess from my description what they might be. If you're in a classroom and as soon as you know what you think the thing is, then put your hand up, don't shout out. But if you're at home and you're on your own, then you can just shout out when you know the answer. So, let me find the first thing. Ooh. Now this object has a very long handle. It fits nicely in your hand. And on one end, it's got lots and lots of bristles, like a very, very small hairbrush. It's something that we are told to use every day, if not twice a day. We put a special paste on it and it helps to keep a part of our body clean and healthy. Has anyone guessed what it might be? If you guessed a toothbrush, then you're right. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Okay. The next thing. Now then, this is something that the grown-ups in your house would probably use every day, many times a day, particularly if you're in my house. It's got a handle and it's got an empty space in it. Ooh, and it's got what feels like a spout. And at the bottom, it's got a long flex with a plug on the end. I think you need to plug this into the electricity, into a plug socket to make it work. It's something that you pour water into. And it makes that water very, very hot. Grown-ups often use it to make themselves hot drinks. Did you guess what it was? If you guessed a kettle, give yourselves a pat on the back. You were right. In our game, you were able to guess what the hidden object was because I was able to describe it to you. I was able to tell you what it did, what it looked like, what it felt like. Sometimes when we meet new people or make new friends, we try and describe what they're like to other people, maybe people in our family who haven't met them. We might describe what they look like. Are they small or tall? Have they got dark hair or light-coloured hair? We might describe what they're like as a person. Are they quiet or are they very loud? We might describe what they do, how they are with other people. Think for a moment. Think of someone you're really close to, maybe someone in your family, maybe a really close friend at school. How would you describe them to someone who'd never met them before? Today's Bible story is a story about Jesus. Last week, we heard how Jesus had left his home where he grew up in Nazareth, and he'd started to do the very, very special job that God had given him, drawing people closer to God. Now, the story we're going to hear today happened just after Jesus had been baptized by John in the River Jordan. We heard about that story last week, didn't we? In this story this week, there's a phrase that's used by lots of different people. And when you hear that phrase, there are a couple of actions that I'd like you to do. When you hear the words, come and see, I want you to make two signs. For the word come, I want you to make this sign as if you're beckoning somebody over, like you're playing in the playground and you can see your friend on the other side and you know that she won't hear you, so you just gesture to her to come over. Come. And when you hear the word see, I want you to pretend you're looking at something that's quite hard to see with a pair of binoculars. Come and see. Let's see if you notice all the times that people in the story use those words, come and see. Everyone was talking about what had happened when Jesus was baptized by John. The people were really curious. Who was this man? Was he really as special as John the Baptist said? Then one day, John was down by the river talking to his friends when Jesus walked by. John pointed him out. Look, there's the one I told you about. The special person, the person that's been chosen by God. Some of John's friends decided they wanted to find out a little bit more about this man called Jesus. So they decided to follow him, to see what he did, to see where he went. Jesus noticed pretty soon that they were following him, and he turned and asked them, "What do you want?" They asked Jesus where he was staying. "Come and see," said Jesus. And so they did. They saw the place where Jesus was staying, and they stayed there with him for the whole day, talking to him, watching him, noticing what he was like. One of the men who followed Jesus was called Andrew. Andrew had a brother called Simon Peter. The very first thing Andrew did after that first day was to go off and find his brother Simon. "Simon," he said when he found him, "come and see. We have found the Messiah." Now, the Messiah means Christ, the special person God had promised to send to the Jews. Andrew took Simon to Peter. Jesus took one look at Simon and said, "I know who you are. You're Simon, son of John. From now on, you're going to be a really special helper of mine. I'm going to call you Cephas, which means rock. You're going to be a strong and steady person. Come and follow me." And Simon, now called Peter, did exactly that. The next day, Jesus took his new friends, Andrew and Simon, Peter, to Galilee. And there they met a friend of Andrew and Peter's called Philip. Philip was intrigued to find out more about Jesus too. "Come and follow me. Come and see what I am like, Philip," said Jesus. And Philip did. Philip had a friend called Nathanael. He was so excited at finding Jesus that Philip rushed off to tell his friend Nathanael all about it. He found Nathanael sitting in a field, snoozing in the sun under a fig tree. "Nathanael, wake up! Do you remember In the Bible, it tells us all about how God was going to send someone really special to teach us how to be close to him once more. Well, come and see. We think we've found him. His name is Jesus, and he comes from Nazareth. Nathaniel was just waking up. Don't know what you're like when you just wake up, but Nathaniel used to be a little bit grumpy when he woke up first thing in the morning, particularly when he'd been broken up so abruptly. Nazareth, he said. Can anything good come from Nazareth? It's just a backwater town. I can't imagine anyone important would ever come from Nazareth. But Philip wouldn't let Nathaniel be. He pestered and he pestered, encouraging Nathaniel to just come and see. Nathaniel realised that Philip, his friend, was not going to leave him in peace until he went with him. So they set out together to find Jesus. And as they were walking towards him, Jesus turned and saw Nathanael coming. Here is a really faithful, truthful person, said Jesus, pointing at Nathanael. Nathanael was a bit shocked. It seemed as if Jesus knew all about him. How do you know me? Asked Nathanael. I saw you when you were under the fig tree. That was before Philip even told you about me. Nathanael was amazed. How was that possible? You really are a special person, he said. You must be the one God has sent. Jesus smiled at Nathanael. Nathanael, why don't you come and see what I'm like, what I do? You'll see even greater things than this. And so Nathanael decided to join his friends and follow Jesus. And as Jesus began to teach people and help people, so many, many more people decided to follow him. I wonder how Andrew, Peter, Philip and Nathanael would have described Jesus. What would they have said about him? What would they have told others about him? I wonder what it was about Jesus that made them want to follow him. I wonder what following Jesus might have involved. What difference would it make to their lives? In the story, we hear about lots of different people choosing to follow Jesus. Each person different. Each person known, it seems, by Jesus and loved by him. Do you remember how Jesus knew all about Nathanael even before he'd met him? I wonder what it might mean for us to respond to Jesus' invitation to come and see. How might we follow Jesus today? How could we find out more about him? Lots of things to wonder about there. Let's end our time together with a prayer. Loving God, we thank you that you know each one of us, even when we think we're not very important, not the sort of person who gets noticed. You notice us and you love us. Thank you for your invitation to come and see, to find more about you. Help us as we think what it might mean for us to follow you today. Amen. I hope you've enjoyed our story this week. If you have, perhaps you could put some comments in the comments box if you're watching this on Facebook, and tell me what you thought about the story where Jesus finds new friends and people go and see who Jesus is. There'll be another story next week, and I look forward to joining with you then. Goodbye for now.